So after a disappointing end to a disappointing season, Manchester United fans certainly need a lift, and Ineos will be hoping that this news can provide exactly that. Matheus Cunha is coming to Old Trafford, and with him he brings 40 goal contributions in the past two Premier League seasons, all from within that rather familiar 3-4-3 formation. So the only question left is, how good is he? So when we talk about Cunha's ball carrying and his dribbling, we are talking about one of his best attributes. His attribute which really gives him a reputation, not only in the Premier League, but in Europe as one of the best ball carriers really anywhere in world football. An amazing player at picking the ball up and driving at the heart of the opposition. I think what's important with Cunha's carrying is that there is always intent behind it. He isn't someone who carries the ball sideways, laterally across the pitch for the sake of it. He always plays with intent. He wants to attack the opposition. He wants to commit opposition defenders and really drive forward and penetrate the opposition defence. In terms of the way that he looks to do this, Cunha is not necessarily the most aesthetic dribbler you're ever going to see. He's not someone who plays with real agility, but there is a power to the way that he carries the ball. And importantly, his changes of direction are very strong. Combine that with his upper body strength and his broad shoulders, Cunha is very, very difficult to stop when he gets going. And again, it's almost like the ball is like a bit of a magnet to him. He just finds a way through, even when it looks like he shouldn't really be able to. And again, that's a combination of power, technical ability, but also that upper body strength that he uses to protect the ball in these situations. Now, what this does is it gives Cunha a real aura with the way that he carries the ball. Opposition defenders know that they have to get towards him. You can't let Cunha carry the ball towards you because he will hurt you. And this creates a real tactical gravity. Teams know that it takes 2, maybe even 3 players to get towards Cunha to close him down. Of course, if 2 defenders are committing to Cunha, that is going to create room for someone else. So that is one of the tactical impacts that Cunha can have on this team. If you want to see more of Cunha's tactical impact on this team, then make sure to check out this video that will be linked in the description from a few weeks ago. Now back to Cunha's ball carrying and his dribbling, and if I am just to be critical on one aspect, it would be the fact that Cunha is very often dribbling and driving inside the pitch, which can become a little predictable. He's not really a player to pick the ball up, isolate a fullback in a 1-versus-1 situation, get chalk on his boots and hug the touchline. That's not really how Cunha likes to play. He is someone who wants to be in the heart of the action, in the thick of it, right in the centre of the pitch. So for this to work at Manchester United, we will need a wing-back that is able to provide the width on a regular basis. Should we be able to provide that, Cunha will be one of the best ball-carrying players literally on this planet. Now when it comes to Cunha's passing, there are 3 areas that I want to look at. That's his short passing, his long passing, but also his crosses into the penalty area. We'll start off with the short passing, where I feel that Cunha is a very competent player. Yes, an aggressive player, someone that likes to move the ball forward, and we'll come back to that in a second, but still very competent. Someone who looks for 1-2s in the final third. He's all about combination play. So yes, as we've seen already, he is a very strong ball carrier, but that does not mean he is selfish. He knows when to release the ball and use his teammates, particularly when he does find himself, on the rare occasion, in wider positions. Again, Cunha isn't a player that likes to attack the fullback in these areas, so instead what he will look to do is play 1-2s with his wingback, releasing the ball and then attacking the space before then receiving the ball again. This is how Cunha will look to operate with his short passing. Now in terms of his creativity in the final third, Cunha is not a primary creator. He isn't a Bruno Fernandes or a Kevin De Bruyne or a Mesut Ozil. He is not that sort of player. And I think for him to take his game to the next level, he does need to add more subtlety to his play, particularly against low blocks. Although, to be fair, he hasn't really had to do that too much at Wolves, due to the transitional nature of the way that the team plays. But I think for him to really succeed at Manchester United, he will need to develop in this area. Now in terms of his long passing, this is something that Cunha leans on quite a lot. We can see in the stats that he tends to play these long passes more often than his peers playing in a similar position. However, the consistency on these long passes are slightly questionable. He's not a bad long switcher of the ball, he's a good ball striker, he hits the ball well as he looks to switch to play. But sometimes it's just a little bit too looped and easy for the opposition to intercept. If Cunha can add this to his game, if he can improve the consistency here, it could be a real weapon, particularly when he drops deeper into the midfield, before then switching the play to a far wing-back. That could be something that Cunha does very well. So I think he has the tools to be great here, but right now that currently isn't the case. And it's also the same with his crossing in the final third. Again, Cunha is always a player that strikes the ball well, and we'll see that shortly with his finishing. But in terms of the craft, again, the subtlety with his delivery into the penalty area, for me it's a little bit lacking. What he tends to do is drift towards the left-hand side, pick the ball up in this slightly deep-ish position, and then swing the ball towards the far post. But currently, the deliveries lack real venom into the penalty area, but they're also not accurate enough to really pick out a centre forward. So often they will be intercepted by the opposition. So again, I think Cunha can be very good here, but at the moment it is lacking a little bit, and I would like to see him coached and developed in this area. Now, in terms of Cunha's tempo control and his temperament, he is perhaps exactly what you would expect. We have all seen flashpoints from him in his career, and that sort of matches the way that he plays. Cunha is a maverick, someone who wants to be, if you like, the main character. He wants everything to run through him, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. What it does mean, though, is that he is incredibly aggressive with his actions. He is a game breaker. He is not someone who's going to keep the ball for the sake of it. He's not someone who you want to run your attacks through. He's not someone you want to dictate your attacks, because you will lose possession a lot. However, if you're looking for someone to change the tempo, to give you more attacking impetus, to give you more penetration through the opposition, then Cunha is your man. He will very rarely play safe passes. With every action that he is looking to be aggressive, and I think that is a great thing for Manchester United. Currently, United are a little bit too predictable, a little bit too slow, a little bit too safe. Cunha will not play in that way. He will completely change, and he will take responsibility on the ball as often as possible. Now, Cunha's movement is actually quite interesting, because this is a player that previously in his career has played as a striker. So therefore you may expect someone that aggressively attacks the box in terms of when he doesn't have the ball. Let's say the ball is on the right hand side with the right wing back. You might expect Cunha to be a player that is always going to box crash into the penalty area. But to tell the truth, that's not really the case. Cunha is someone more that wants the ball to his feet. He's not going to stretch in behind the opposition defence. He isn't really one to make selfless runs constantly off the ball. Instead, what he wants to do, again, is sort of be that main character. Come to feet, come towards the ball. So in order for Cunha to be successful, what United will need to do is put runners around him. If Cunha is coming towards the ball, other players will need to stretch the opposition defence. But if Manchester United are able to do that, then once again we will see that amazing ball carrying ability. Again, someone who can drive at the heart of the opposition. I would like to see Cunha becoming more aggressive. I think particularly with deliveries into the final third, late on when your team needs a goal, Cunha physically could become a very good weapon for Manchester United. We'll see in just a few minutes that he's a very good finisher. I would just like him to attack these positions a little bit more frequently and with a little bit more aggression. If he does that, he could become a massive, massive box threat, because there is no doubt that he is an intelligent footballer. Now, to tell the truth, Cunha's aerial ability is slightly disappointing. He's well over 6 foot tall, he's got a very big, strong physical frame, and he's got a decent jump on him, but he doesn't win very many headers at all. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't try. He will very often go into these headering situations, but rarely actually with the intention of winning the ball. He tends to jump early to disrupt and throw off the opposition defender, but as a result, he often won't actually get the ball himself. So in terms of his aerial ability, I would say that Cunha is more of a disruptor rather than someone that actually has great aerial prowess. Again, in terms of coaching, it would be great to see him improving his leap, improving his timing, and using his upper body just a little bit better in these aerial duels. But at the moment, if Manchester United were to use him as a target man from goal kicks, I think he would perhaps have some success if he could play against smaller opposition fullbacks. But if he was to find himself up against the centre-backs, then I think he would struggle just a little bit. Now, to go back to one of Cunha's strengths, we can look at his finishing and his ball striking. We are talking about one of the best ball strikers in the Premier League. His catalogue of goals this season has been absolutely ridiculous. Some of his finishes are sublime and will make highlight reels for years to come. And he has, this season, massively outperformed his XG, and that is a good sign. A player that can score not only the chances that you expect him to score, but also chances that you wouldn't normally expect him to score, that will have huge value to Manchester United. United haven't been able to score goals this season. Cunha will certainly change that. This man is a very good goal scorer. However, there is just a slight concern how much he has overperformed his XG this season. This sort of level of overperformance can be hard to sustain. Next season, I would naturally expect a slight dip. However, I still think in all competitions, he is a player more than capable of getting 20 goals. I think certainly that should be his aim at Manchester United next season. And I think for him to do that, he will just need to make sure that he doesn't become too predictable with his finishing. You can see in terms of his shots in the past 12 months in the Premier League, they are in typically a similar sort of area. A few of them are a nice height for the goalkeeper. I think what Cunha needs to try and do slightly more regularly is find the corners a little bit more and also shoot to the far corner a little bit more. I think that's something that he needs to add to his game, particularly his shots from outside of the penalty area. They're very often coming back into the near post rather than swinging towards the far post. And again, that can become a little bit predictable for opposition goalkeepers to try and read. So again, Cunha needs to add a bit of variety to his game, although to tell the truth, when you can finish this well, who needs variety, right? Regardless, Cunha, in my opinion, is a very good finisher. He is someone that will instantly improve Manchester United in that regard. I think he will come into the club and immediately be one of the best goal scorers that we have. He will immediately boost Manchester United's goal tally in the Premier League next season, I would expect. And I think, again, if he can add a little bit of unpredictability to his finishing, perhaps use his left foot just a little bit more, because I think he's very, very capable on his left foot. He just doesn't use it quite often enough. I think if he can do that, we're talking about a player who, in 2 seasons' time, could actually be a prolific finisher for Manchester United. All in all, I think Cunha is a very good player and a pretty smart signing for Manchester United. He is a player that is brutal in transition, and for now that is probably something that Manchester United will still depend on. In those situations, Cunha will bring an athleticism, a drive, a ruthless streak that United currently lack, so in that sense, it's a perfect fit. In the slower situations, when Manchester United are trying to break teams down, like in the Europa League final, Cunha may struggle a little bit more. Again, we did this tactical video a few weeks ago, and I think there are areas where he can be successful for Manchester United in these situations. But for him to really take his game to the next level, he needs to add a little bit more craft, a little more guile, again, a little bit more subtlety to the way that he plays in the final third. Again, if he can do that, you have yourself a very complete forward. All in all, I think it's a good signing for Manchester United. He's a little bit more expensive than I would have liked, simply because of United's current financial situation and the need to sign multiple players. But I think United are getting themselves a very good fit. Someone who tactically will solve a lot of the problems that Ruben Amorim currently has in the 3-4-3. I think Cunha sort of fits this system like a glove. So all in all, a good signing. It gets my signature of approval, and I cannot wait to see him in a Manchester United shirt.